what's up? What's up? I am Wes Mitchell. He is Chris Clark. This is GC Live, home of the game day chair, and brought to you by Affordable Medical Equipment at affordablemedicalusa.com. Check them out, 803-926-1493. They make the daily approach to this show possible. Again, they are home of the game day chair, which I believe would make an outstanding Christmas present for your significant other or for yourself. I may be alone in this, but every year I buy myself a Christmas present as well. So, by the way, joined today, we're going to be here shortly by a very special guest, Darian Stewart. Darian, I can see you down there. Give me a thumbs up when you're ready, man, and I'll bring you in. He is good to go. Joining us right now on GC Live, former Gamecock, now former NFLer, Darian Stewart. Darian has got his Gamecock hat on. Darian, thanks for joining us, man. How you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. I'm always rocking my Gamecock hat, man.
I see that.
Right here, my favorite hat.
I see that. I like that, man. So big news today, obviously from you. I guess that the word is sort of already out there, but for the people who haven't seen it, why don't you tell everybody your big career news today?
Well, today I'm making it official that I will be retiring from the NFL officially. So I'm happy, man. You knew this day would be coming. I'm happy to do it, and it seemed like the perfect time with COVID going on.
Yeah, man. So now it's like pretty much a decade in the league, and just what has that experience been like for you? I'm sure you probably dreamed of it when you were a kid. So what was it like to actually experience it, and how does it feel to sort of hang things up today, man?
It's still kind of surreal, man, that I've got a chance to play 10 years in the NFL. But I'm happy. I'm glad it's over, man. So now I get to hang with the family. I haven't had this much time on my hands in years. And so I'm trying to find every little thing to get into, from golfing to video games, every little thing. Spending time with my kid. I'm taking her to and from school. So it's a lot of stuff to look forward to.
Darian, appreciate you joining us, man. I really do. And congratulations again on your career and, moving on to the next chapter, which we want to get into for sure. I want to go way back, right, to I remember following your recruitment, in the class of 2006, and was actually looking back at some old stories on Rivals that people had done with you about your recruitment. One thing I noticed in one of the stories, you actually said you liked receiver better in high school, and obviously ended up playing defensive back at South Carolina and playing it in the NFL. So I guess a good decision by you.
Oh, great decision, man.
DB. But how did that? Why did you like receiver, and then how did sort of the switch to DB happen, like at the college level?
Oh, that was easy, man. We was playing a playoff game back in high school, and my brother was my quarterback then, and he threw. We were going into a 2-minute drill just before halftime, and he threw a 9 route to me just down the field. It hit the ground early, but the safety just came over top and slapped the living mess out of me, man. Like, it was a late hit, but I got up, shook it off, but I was ready for halftime after that, and that made my decision right there, final.
So you wanted to dole out the punishment?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and you definitely made a transition to be able to do that. So tell me about the recruiting process. I know that, for a guy that played 10 years in the league, you didn't draw the huge list of scholarship offers right out of high school. I mean, you had several good options, but you signed with South Carolina. Tell me what you remember about recruiting and like how South Carolina came about as an option and why you ended up choosing the Gamecocks.
Well, I always wanted to play in the SEC, and I wanted a shot to play on Saturdays, a place where my mom can catch me, on TV. And Alabama and Auburn, they started recruiting me, but they didn't offer. And so that right there made me get out of state, and it happened to be the best decision, man. I learned so much. I got to meet a bunch of great guys, man, and that's what it's all about. So I was happy, to come up there to South Carolina.
Darren, I noticed probably the last decade or so, man, when you've been in the league, it seems like the Gamecock fraternity of guys that are also in the league has like grown during that time span. What's it been like for you, man? And what's it like playing? Maybe you go play a team and you see Stephon Gilmore is playing against you, or Alshon's in the league, or what's that been like to sort of be a part of that fraternity and seeing all these other guys have success as well?
Oh man, it's so dope, man, just to see your brothers you work with, and they living their dreams. It's beautiful to see, especially when you get to play each other twice a year, like me and Melvin, and or even if they're on the same team, like me and Jerry Cook. So I had an opportunity to play with some of my guys, and of course see them twice a year, and it's always good catching up with them.
All right, so Darian, back to the college career in South Carolina, and also an NFL question. So sort of a two-parter for you. What is maybe your fondest memory at South Carolina? It can be a game, a moment in a game, just an experience you had, and then also same question for the NFL. Favorite part of both of those phases of your career.
The fondest memory in college, it was the sandstorm. Playing Ole Miss on Thursday night, man. That game right there. It started out rough for me individually, but down the stretch, where I found a way to make some plays, and I just remember the crowd just going crazy.
Yeah. What about at the NFL level? What was your favorite either time period or moment or experience there?
Probably the AFC, just the playoff experience in general. Just the intensity that you have to play with, and just the focus that you have to have. Every play counts in the playoffs. So once I left St. Louis and got to, I mean, not Denver, but Baltimore, I had my first taste of it. So I would say just that whole playoff atmosphere was the best of my career.
Again, we're joined now, obviously, by former Gamecock, former NFLer Darian Stewart. Darian, so obviously the big talk around these parts has been the Shane Beamer hire, man. So I know many of the former players like yourself have been sort of in Shane's corner. They've been happy about this hire. I think looking back, y'all's time sort of overlapped. How well did you know Coach Beamer back when you were playing, and what was your experience like with Coach Beamer?
Well, I'm stoked, man. I'm happy. I'm happy he's back. He seems to be where he wants to be, and he was actually my position coach, so I know him very well. And just to let y'all know, just to give y'all clear minds, and just let y'all know he's gonna be okay. He's a great leader. He's someone that the players are gonna want to play for, and that's what you want. And he's behind his players, and that's all you need.
Darian, what we opened it up in the comments here for some of our listeners, our watchers, to ask some questions too. And this one was actually one I planned on asking you as well. So you mentioned some free time on your hands now. You want to spend time with family, but career-wise, what are you looking at doing now? Are you thinking about getting into coaching? Are you stepping away from football totally, or are you totally unsure? Do you have any plans right now?
Well, I've been decided on my retirement for a long time, so I've been sitting still with COVID going on. So, next year I'm looking into jumping into some type of groove, some type of job. Even if it's coming back to SC, and just being a player development type guy, man, and just becoming a mentor to the young guys. I'd definitely be down for that.
So is that sort of where your passion would be going forward, Darian? Is something obviously not on the field, but something still involved with the game? I imagine if you've been around the game for that long, it might be a little weird not being around the game. So is that definitely something that sort of speaks to you?
Yeah, but it's always about that family time too.
Mhm.
I want to be able to spend time with the kids, and just be there to take them to and from school. But it's so time consuming being a coach, just traveling and stuff, being on the road recruiting. But being a player development guy, it keeps me in state, and it allows me to be hands on with the players as well, whether it's watching film, just being everything they need me to be.
Yeah, so here's a question that just popped up here from RJ Darian. What was playing for Coach Spurrier like? Any funny memories of him? Seems like a lot of players have a Spurrier story
Hey,
or two.
Spurrier, it was always a funny moment with him, man. Whether it's seeing him with his shirt off, practicing his golf swing just before practice, or it wasn't really funny when he got on you, after a bad game. I remember I missed a tackle. Well, I got cut by a lineman, and the running back scattered off for about another 20 yards. He got after me in that meeting room, man. He was like, "What's that, Stu? You didn't see him?" I was like, "No, sir. No, sir, I didn't see him." Well, open your eyes next time. So yeah, man, it was some fun moments with Coach Spurrier. It was definitely an honor to get an opportunity to play for him.
We got another interesting question here, Darian, from Gamecocks 04. Wants to know, did you have a favorite defensive scheme? Was there like a favorite defense that you enjoyed playing in the most, or were you just all about, hey, just let me go hit somebody and I'm happy with whatever they asked me to do?
It didn't really matter to me. I found that Coach Ellis Johnson had a 4-2-5 defense in college that fitted me pretty well. It allowed me to play closer to the line, and I made a lot of plays back there. But for me, I just felt I was always a football player, so the scheme never really mattered to me. But once I got to the league, I realized 3-4 was maybe the best scheme for me. I had the most fun playing in.
Darian, to go back to Shane Beamer, who you mentioned earlier, obviously new head coach at South Carolina, your position coach, like you said, give us a little insight into his coaching, I guess, style. That's something that people talk about a lot. Is he more laid back? Is he more intense when he's one-on-one coaching? And then what traits do you think he showed as a position coach that he's going to be able to carry over as a head coach to coach the entire team?
Well, I think just having him as my coach, from what I remember, he allowed us to, to be ourselves and make our mistakes, and he corrected them, and just like any other coach, but he has a way of talking to his players to get the best out of them. And he's not the one to degrade any of his players. He's gonna talk to you, treat all his players as men, and and I think that's all you can ask for. So it's always the respect thing.
And Coach Beamer, I think, has sort of talked about that and talked about trying to build a strong culture here and building a culture where guys want to come back that were, with the team before, with the program before. What do you think it's going to take, Darian, in your mind, for Coach Beamer to get things back to where they were when it was at the peak here with Coach Spurrier. So what's it going to take to get South Carolina back to that level, do you think, in your opinion?
They need to see more of us, and us I mean former players. I don't feel like enough of us come back. And whether it's an off-season program, I know all of us are busy, but I feel like to get this thing turned around, it needs to feel more like a family. I feel like more of us need to come back more so these players can see and feel like touch us, feel like they know us. Because right now all they know is they hear about us, but they don't know us.
Darian, to put last one I've got for you, man, because I know you got a busy schedule today talking about a lot of stuff. So last one from me personally, and somebody asked this in the comments too, what toughest player you played against on another team, and then best player you played with at South Carolina? So best teammate, best opposing player.
Best teammate, just absolute athlete.
Sure. However you want to classify it.
Melvin Ingram. Yeah,
That's a pretty good one.
Yeah, he was a different athlete, man. He could do a no-hand backflip, man. He go in there and give you buckets on the basketball court. played quarterback. He did a lot, man. So I would say he was the most athletic, the best athlete on the team for sure. And just playing against, just doing my career, or
Yeah.
ooh, it's a lot of guys, man.
Yeah, it is.
Let's see. Who gave us them? Oh, Antonio Brown, easy.
Oh yeah.
There it is.
Yeah, he gave us like 5 touchdowns. Big Ben too. So yeah. So I would say them too.
Okay, cool, man. And final couple things here for me as well, Darian. I know you said you were looking for some hobbies, playing some golf, playing some video games. What are you finding, man? What are you good at, and what's frustrating you as far as the new hobbies? Where are you leaning to, I guess?
I've been an avid golfer since this pandemic came about. So it's like I've been on tour. I try to get out there once or twice a week. I actually played yesterday with Mo Brown and Larry Freeman.
Okay.
It didn't go well for me though. It was one of those days. So, but I'm sticking with golf, man. I got to roll with the punches. It's a fun sport, but you have those days.
Who of the three is the better golfer on an average day, you think? Like, are they better than you, or they just got the better of you yesterday?
Yeah, they just got the better of me yesterday, I would say, because any other day, that probably was their first time beating me in a long time.
Okay, I got you. I'm gonna tell Mo you said that.
Yeah, Mo
Darian,
just started. He just getting back into it though, so I give him the benefit of the doubt.
Okay, I got you. Darian, man, again, congrats on the retirement. Good luck the rest of the way, man, with what you do next. Please stay in touch with the show. Keep us updated. And just finally, would you like to give I'll give the platform to you, man. You want to give a message to the Gamecock fans or just anybody else who may be watching this?
Hey, GC Nation, man, I'm coming back, and I'm looking forward to just mingling and meeting everybody, man. You see me, don't be afraid to stop and talk to me.
Awesome. Good stuff. Like I said, Darren, we appreciate it, man. We'll let you get to your next media obligation there, dude. But again, congrats, and we'll talk to you soon, okay?
Yes, sir. I'll see y'all.
All right.
Take care.
Yeah, good stuff, man. That's Darian Stewart, former Gamecock. Good stuff from him, and some good questions from y'all. I was curious to see what direction he would go on the former players as far as best that he played with, best that he played against. But Melvin, he went most athletic. Melvin Ingram, pretty good pick there.
Yeah, you know, probably would have been hard pressed to go against him. I think there are certain guys that, depending on the era that they played in, that are going to get mentioned. Like for Gamecock guys, when you ask them best teammate, or when you ask them best guy they played against, depending on era, there's going to be some common guys that come up. And Melvin is always one. Guys who played with Clowney are going to say Clowney. The most common one that I've ever heard, and this was after Darian, but Todd Gurley is the one that all the Gamecocks, like in the era right after that, they all said Todd Gurley when I've asked them, who's the best player you played against. But Melvin Ingram, definitely, obviously the stuff he could do. We saw some of it in practice back in the day. Like he mentioned, quarterback, Melvin would throw a football like 90 yards or something. I mean, just effortless. It was insane.
He was on one of these NFL shows where they're like off-season type shows, and they had him throwing passes, and he's literally dropping 75-yard dimes or throwing the ball behind his back, I think, and just looks I mean, here's the thing. Compared to everybody else, anybody that's ever played in the NFL is built different than the average person, right? The thing about a guy like Melvin, he's built different even than the other guys for the most part in the NFL. And also Melvin, though, is a reminder, don't give up on a guy after their freshman or sophomore year, because South Carolina signed Melvin as a great athlete. He was a linebacker, sort of outgrew that position, you would say, and then ended up he was a defensive tackle, but I don't know that he bought into the idea. No, not many linebackers like being called a defensive tackle. But once somebody named Brad Lawing got it through his head, hey, you could go play in the NFL at this position. And, and he's gone back and forth like defensive end, especially in 3-man fronts. He's more kind of that role, I think, is where he fits perfectly. Can do a lot of different things for you, man. But playing in space, he's a guy you want rushing the passer. So it just reminds you, it just tells you, don't always give up.
No, yeah, you can't. If a guy, I mean, and look, Melvin had a lot of recruiting hype too. Like he didn't have the huge offer list, but he was a 4-star guy, and word had gotten out about how freaky athletic he was. And so when he wasn't doing much as a freshman or sophomore, people, I don't know about this guy. And by his own admission, he very well could have washed out. But to his credit, to South Carolina's coaching staff's credit, everybody stuck with it. He bought in, and now he's where he's at. And so, but yeah, freak athlete. He was on that sports science show too. You remember that?
Yeah.
Timing his get off and everything, and it was just like an alien almost. Some of the stuff he could do. You know who I was surprised? I thought Darian would go in the direction of the opposing player. I wanted him to do one college. I really wanted to go college, but he did NFL. Opposing player. Who would you have thought, Wes? Let me see if we're on the same page with this.
Oh God, best.
I feel like it's easy. I feel like it's an easy one.
I don't know. Just tell me.
Darren McFadden.
Okay. Well,
so Darian played the last 2 years of D-Mac's career. Darian played. He was a freshman and sophomore. So here's what Darren McFadden did in those games. Painful reminder for Gamecock fans. In 2006, Darian's freshman year, 25 carries for 219 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then in 2007, the one that still makes all the highlight reels all the time, 34 carries, 321 yards, 1 touchdown. Somehow only 1 touchdown.
How did he only have a touchdown in that game?
I thought
he had like 10 touchdowns in that game.
I was wondering the same thing. Also completed a pass in that game for 23 yards just for added insult.
I remember that.
Yep.
So he had 500 yards rushing basically in the 2 games.
He averaged 8.8 a carry, only 8.8 a carry in that 2006 game. The 2007 one, he bumped it up to 9.4 yards a carry.
See, I got a feeling that Darian probably, as a coping device, that his brain eliminated that game from.
He blocked it out.
Yeah.
I should have asked him about it just to see his reaction, though. I really should have. I should have been like, let's get him back on. I need to.
Yeah.
Next time, we'll ask him.
Next time. He said he'd come back on the show, so we'll ask him next time. Maybe that's not a first interview with a guy type question, more of like a second or third. Yeah. But no, that was cool. We certainly wish him luck, and he's stuck in the league, man. I mean, there really are. I mean, dude, Demir Bird has been in the league for over 5 years now. I mean, there's been the obvious guys have stuck in the league, but there's been a lot of other. That was sort of when Darian, and I should have asked him about this too. Maybe we should prepare before we do interviews. He was the guy one of the guys that started the reputation of Ron Cooper being this outstanding talent evaluator, because he landed Darian from Alabama. He landed Captain Munnerlyn, another guy that stuck in the league for a long time. And, and D. Stew wasn't, like you said, wasn't highly recruited necessarily. Captain was like a literal old school 2-star. And, both those guys started for South Carolina for a number of years and ended up playing in the league for a number of years. So Ron Cooper really had this reputation at the time as being not necessarily a great recruiter as far as going head to head and signing a bunch of guys, but of finding the right people to recruit.
Absolutely, man. And it was the case back then that you needed to do that. And it's still the case now, like, especially at South Carolina, you're at some point, maybe they end up signing these top 5, top 10 classes on a consistent basis. If so, then that means things are going well, right? But you need to be able to strike a balance of just doing an awesome job on your evaluations, finding some kids that maybe just don't quite reach to the board of an Alabama or Auburn in-state like Darian, finding a kid like Captain Munnerlin, things like that. Those still apply nowadays, and so they did a really good job of finding guys like that at times. Even, I even look at an Eric Norwood, he was a high 3-star and he had a pretty good offer list, but it's not like he was thought of as one of the best prospects in the country or something. Georgia didn't offer him. Those are the types of things that you have to do. And you can find some big time players like that. And Darian was definitely one of those, man. It didn't take long after he got to Columbia to see that he was going to be an impact player, and he was, and got into the league and did an outstanding job. He was just made of the right stuff.
Yeah, and I think now, Darian and Cap, they were out-of-state guys, but I think especially for South Carolina in the current landscape of things is probably a good word for it. I think in-state recruiting with Shane Beamer has got to be at a really high level, but not necessarily in a sense of on paper, but more that we look at this 3 or 4, much like we look at Darian Stewart or Captain 3 or 4 years after they've been on campus and say, you picked the right guy to take. I think that will be a massive key. And it was for Muschamp as well. And sometimes, in recruiting, man, we all know it's not a science. Sometimes you swing for the wrong guys, but I think they need to hit on a higher percentage of guys in state as far as picking the right under the radar guys to take a chance on, because this state does have a history of having kids like that who either emerge late or just, are missing maybe one thing you're looking for, maybe not quite tall enough, maybe a step slow. There's one aspect you are missing maybe in your evaluation, but if they love ball and they're workers, they're guys that are going to be good culture fits, maybe you take a chance on a guy like that if everything else is in place, if that makes sense.
No, it does. You got to have that balance. Now, we talk a lot. I think some people even get irritated. Well, you can't just talk about just culture, good kids. That's true. If you just sign a bunch of great kids and they really can't play, you're not going to be very good. But you do have to find that balance. And having a great culture can give you an edge in recruiting, particularly when you're at a place like South Carolina. They can't rely on a logo. They can't rely on a trophy case. There's tradition and history at South Carolina, but it's not related to championships, for example. So you have to find differentiators in recruiting. And for them, creating some type of culture, sort of like Darian was talking about, where you see players, from the past around all the time. You see a true family feel. Everybody, every college coach, every program, they're going to talk about culture, environment, family feel. They're going to talk about these things because they're recruiting buzzwords. When you can take those away, when you can turn it from a recruiting buzzword into a reality, and prospects actually see that and it's tangible, then it can be a differentiator in recruiting. And so that's why we talk about things like creating culture a lot. And that's why, one reason why Shane Beamer is pitching this type of stuff during the interview process, during the coaching search. And it was something that was quite appealing to people who were in the position to make those decisions.
I want to talk a little bit about, let's push it forward to Beamer and in the last couple of days and then the next few days. By the way, Oklahoma's football game for Saturday has been canceled because West Virginia is essentially going into COVID protocol, had too many contact traces or positives or whatever it was. So no game for Oklahoma. That probably helps Shane Beamer a little bit out from time management as far as that stuff goes. And so, Chris, I think a guy that fits all those things we're talking about, a kid that I've been very impressed with, and a kid, dude, that it feels like just from the actions that Beamer instantly wanted to try to get back into the fold would be someone like Bryce Steele. And I know you've talked to him before. I've talked to him before. God, man, I think it's worth talking about how much I feel like that guy matches what you're looking for actually from a maturity and culture fit, plus the other side of it, he fits a need. He fills a need. He's at linebacker. He can run and cover. That's something they're trying to sort of fix at that position. And I don't know right now if they can get him back in the fold. It's probably going to depend on, can they hire a defensive coordinator between now and Wednesday? Is it a guy maybe he knows? Is it a guy he has a prior relationship with? If that happens, then maybe it's a conversation. But I think it's worth singling out Bryce as being that type of guy, and he's just that impressive of a kid.
He is, man. And we saw him in camp, a couple summers ago, and physically impressive prospect because he checks off a lot of the boxes that you look for. Even just sort of eyeballing a guy moving around. He has size, length. He looks like a bigger safety or a smaller linebacker, but has the frame to continue getting bigger, which going into his senior year that he has not gotten to play because of COVID, ball was moved to the spring for him. He was probably going to be, 205, 210 going in. So he can run, he can cover, he can play physically, and he's a fantastic kid, like you said. So he's someone that was, I think going to be a really good addition to the Gamecock program no matter what. Now, unfortunately, they don't have him on the commitment list right now because of the coaching change. Just a lot of uncertainty, but he's still, what would you say, Wes? You most recent one to talk to him and sort of gather some info, probably on the hook, maybe you could say, or swimming around the hook. And
he's listening, at least.
He's listening, yeah.
He's considering. Here's the thing. So we don't really like to do a whole lot of speculating. We like to more talk about info, but I do think that it will be an interesting couple of days after, probably on Saturday and after Saturday, because as much as we sort of had a feel for the actual head coaching search, the assistant coaching search and filling all these roles, Chris, I would say has been relatively quiet since the Beamer hire. Now, I think that's by design. I don't think necessarily with, and we already know Beamer has told some prospects, some of the guys that I'm hiring, as you would expect, are still playing in games right now, are still coaching in games that are being played. And I think once you get past Saturday, though, lots of teams will be ending their regular seasons. Then maybe you have some movement. Potentially, maybe there's even a few guys out there that, again, speculating, have maybe already decided even, but they want to wait until after their regular seasons are over before they want that information to leak out. So I think potentially we start to get a feel for some of these spots as soon as like a Sunday, because if there is someone out there that already sort of feels like they're coming on board, and you have, just look at the timetable here. Saturday, end of regular season. Wednesday, beginning of early signing period. So it would only make sense that in that window, you'd probably try to move as fast as possible.
Yeah, definitely. Every day is critical. It's sort of like when South Carolina was going through the coaching search, like every day was another opportunity for something bad to happen, and so you sort of, to some degree, had to tune that out because your focus had to be find the best coach if you're South Carolina. But once you found him, and Beamer was the leader for much of the process, as we've already discussed, move on it. And so they moved on it, and things move very quickly. It's very much a whirlwind in that office, and for Beamer remotely. Now he's going to have even more time. He was already devoting plenty of time, as we know, Wes, from covering what he's done so far to building a staff and the recruiting efforts. And that's going to continue. But yeah, obviously, as much as possible, there's going to be some circumstances that limit you with the staff, such as some of them still playing games. But as soon as you can get those things into place, once you have your guys, sooner the better. Now, in a hypothetical scenario, which is all we're talking about, you mentioned Sunday for hiring a guy or two guys or whatever it may be. If that happens, that gives you a few days before Wednesday to pound the pavement remotely, not actually.
The fake pavement.
Yes, of course. Just to see, and here's the thing about, trying to flip Bryce Steele back, or even if he was uncommitted, it's not like this is something totally foreign to him. He's been committed to South Carolina. He knows a lot of the ins and outs, the differences. The head coach is different. And then, he's not sure, defensively, the type of system and things like that. So hypothetically, maybe he thinks about that and says, well, it's closer to home, and well, I'm comfortable with this place and I'm comfortable enough with what they're going to do as a staff. But you never know. He obviously has a comfort level with BC. Jeff Hafley, the head coach there from Ohio State, formerly is the defensive coordinator. So there's a familiarity level, a comfort level there also.
Interesting note here, by the way, Chris, I just saw from a Lincoln Riley press conference. He said that if Ryan Day called him up right now and asked if they wanted to play Ohio State, that he would say yes. So
That'd be awesome.
How awesome would that be? I will say our brothers and sisters down there at Coastal here in the state, the fact that they were just like, screw it, we'll play BYU anytime, anywhere. We had so much other stuff to talk about. We never got into any of that. But I appreciate that. I love that. I think, now that all this is over, I think Chadwell could have been a risk for South Carolina from a hire standpoint. Every hire can be a risk, but I do think eventually another SEC program will probably take a chance on Chadwell. And I do just love that mindset. If we get Ohio State, Oklahoma, it's not going to happen. Someone will jump in. It's fun. Here's the problem. A lot of these bigger schools will say, oh, we'll play anybody, anywhere, anytime. But then when it comes down to it, it doesn't actually happen. But I love that Coastal Carolina actually did it. So maybe we do. Let's do Oklahoma, Ohio State next Tuesday or something. We've had these NFL games at random times,
Yeah. No, what I was just thinking of as you were talking through that? I think it would be really cool if we had an entire season of just a screw it football season where maybe you played like your rival, maybe you played a team or two from your own conference, like for example, like Georgia, Auburn, things like that. But you just played whoever, just a hodgepodge, all these Oklahoma, Ohio State. So it's basically like marquee non-conference games just all year. I think that would be pretty awesome just to change it up. But we would probably miss all the regular conference matchups and SEC matchups and things like that. Wes, I think it's time. Let me talk about Dead Soxy real quick to all the people and the game here. So deadsoxy.com, DeadSoxy. Dead Soxy is the place where you need to go to get yourself hooked up with some socks. It's around Christmas time. Men's and women's socks, boardroom dress sock line, the no-show socks. Just got some pictures of the new product. Wes, you saw those, a little bit more Gamecock-centric. We'll unveil those at some point. Just go to deadsoxy.com and check out their entire inventory, all different kinds of socks. Wes and I both have them. We both wear them. It's getting cold, so it is really great to have some Dead Soxy socks. Super comfortable, soft, no-slip technology. Use the code HOLIDAYPRO at deadsoxy.com to get 35% off your entire order. And hey, while you're lounging in your Dead Soxy socks, make sure you're in the game day chair from affordablemedicalusa.com, 803-926-1493. Check out the links in the description if you're on our podcast page, or if you're watching us live streaming on YouTube, right there in the description. Make sure you check out the game day chair. Several of our listeners and watchers getting one for Christmas. So look forward to the reviews. Make sure you join them. Don't get left out on Dead Soxy or the game day chair.
Yeah, don't get left out on either one. Let's see. Had a person ask if they missed Darian. Yes, Darian was already on, but you can pretty easily rewind back, I think, and check us out on YouTube, youtube.com/GamecockCentral, and you should be able to go back to the beginning of the show. Or if you just want to listen to the interview, I'll have this posted probably within 15 minutes of the show ending on all the major podcast platforms, whether you're on iPhone or Android or whatever else, it'll pop up on there. So you should be good to go. Dude, so there's two other things I want to hit, then we'll get out of here. Bowl talk.
Yep.
I made a post yesterday. This is something, Chris, we've sort of been, I would say, tracking from, both of us have been tracking it, but from different perspectives maybe, and then putting our heads together. And it's been weird because there's a lot of different just variables involved this year. And it started out, I would say, let's run down them real quick. A, would South Carolina be invited to a bowl game? B, would South Carolina's administration want to go to a bowl game if they were invited to a bowl game? C, are the players even going to want to play in a bowl game? And whether they do or don't, does that matter to the decision? And then it sort of comes down to, would South Carolina even have enough players? Because as we've seen, a lot of the teams have sort of had their numbers dwindle as far as available players. And you have the normal, well, not normal, the new normal, the 2020 normal stuff of COVID positives and contact traces that have locked people out from being able to play. Plus, you now have opt-outs. You're going to always, I think, have additional opt-outs for bowl games. Plus, injuries, transfers where guys maybe get a head start. So we posted this last night, but Chris, I think the accurate way to say it is the same way we said it on the board. South Carolina, as a football team, is preparing to play for a bowl. Like they have been told to come back to school to report back early next week on Monday. They will have COVID testing, which is the first step of all this, and then they're getting ready to play for a bowl. Have they been officially selected by a bowl yet? No. I was told they will probably know a bowl destination probably this weekend or after this weekend, so to speak. And then, though, it really comes down to, and I'll let you speak on this part, it sounds like from an administration standpoint that South Carolina would accept a bowl invite. But then it goes back to this other thing we're talking about where all the teams really in the conference and in the country, it's going to come down to, do they have enough players available on a roster to actually field a team to play in a bowl?
Yeah, I mean, the sort of confluence of factors, everything, whether it's conference, school, whatever, has made it seem from the people that we're talking to independently, Wes, like you said, putting our heads together on it, that the bowl bid and acceptance right now, where we are right now, it's key to say, makes it seem more likely that a bowl will happen. That's just what we're getting, the messaging we're getting from multiple places. And as you said, there's no doubt this is a fact that they are preparing as if a bowl is going to happen. That's for sure. Now, where it goes from here, that's a question. And probably that begins on Sunday, right? We'll know a little bit more then. Obviously, the players had a mandatory week off after the season ended. Lots of those players went back home, things of that nature, to get some R&R. And Sunday, the players will report back, COVID testing, whatever else happens after that, we'll just have to see. It's a big play it by ear situation. But fielding a team has been a concern for most SEC programs this year, if not from the beginning of the year to the end. South Carolina and Kentucky, the only two teams in the league that did not have a game canceled or postponed due to COVID. So they got through well. But Kentucky had major issues their game before, and they were missing some guys on Saturday back on the last game. South Carolina, as we know, had major issues, whether it's injuries, opt-outs, COVID, whatever it may have been. And so a lot of those things have not subsided, right? We've seen a few more Gamecocks say they're going pro, Cedarius Hutcherson and Shai Smith and Ernest Jones, even since the end. You would have to figure that some other players are going to say no thanks to a bowl game for a variety of reasons. And so it is a serious question of what will the numbers look like? What is sort of the acceptable threshold that everybody's comfortable with, not just for South Carolina, but for other schools, who are going to be in difficult positions. So all that is going to weigh into it. And so that's why it's sort of a play it by ear situation, but everything is proceeding as if right now, a bowl is happening.
Yeah. And I see both sides of it, man. I really do. Ultimately, let's be honest here, man. There's a financial element to the bowl games and to filling television time and stuff like that, filling these slots. Speaking of, I'm going to get to something related to that here in a second. But, then there's the other side of getting – I mean, if it's me, I'm just rolling all young guys out there. Now, even then, it's not in the current scheme, right? It's not in the future scheme, I should say, what will now be the current scheme. So, I don't know, but you get, roll a Luke Doty out there, Rico Powers, Jakari Caldwell, Jaheim Bell, Mo Cobb on defense, just play your young guys and get them another time out there. I don't imagine, I haven't seen this. Maybe it's already out there. I don't imagine you're going to be doing like a travel to the bowl site, spend a week there, do all these activities like you used to do. I'm guessing you travel to a bowl game this year just like you travel to any other away game would be my anticipation. So
Yep.
I can't imagine South Carolina making a huge – I mean, some of these bowls are like right around the corner anyway as far as the timing for them. So I imagine it's probably a few days extra of practice, and then you go play the game basically, and that's that. But interestingly, speaking of TV stuff, I was looking. So the SEC, Chris, have you seen this on Twitter? The SEC has an announcement coming up at 6:00 this evening, and somebody else may have had it as well, but I'll give credit where it's due. I saw it from Andy Staples, and he's saying that it's going to be regarding a new TV contract for the SEC that Disney/ESPN will be purchasing the rights to basically all of the SEC games instead of just part of them, which would essentially take away CBS. Yeah.
I'm a little sad about that.
I am too. The CBS 3:30, I would guess that ends up on ABC maybe, because although, all Disney, ESPN, ABC, it's all tied together. But that would be weird not having the 3:30 CBS, right?
Well, it was already weird after Uncle Vern walked away too. It was just so different. But it was one of those things. It was like the music for the 3:30 CBS game, Vern. There's something to it. So, I don't know. We're sounding old now, I think, when you're like, but it was sort of a thing I saw as traditional. So it is a little disappointing, but that's been rumored for a while, man. And interesting because, a lot of what we read, I mean, Disney, ESPN, they have tons of money tied up in rights agreements.
Mm-hmm.
And you would have to think that the SEC agreement is going to fetch a pretty penny. So, and we've seen ESPN, they've had to shift their business model, right, away from a lot of talent being let go and things like that, because they've chosen to focus on rights and other different things, launching Disney Plus, ESPN Plus, all these different things. So very interesting move. Very interesting move.
Yeah, and I think what we've seen, not to get too deep into all this, what we've seen is that as far as live TV goes, with shows and stuff, everybody watches on demand. The only sort of premium for live TV right now is on sports. So I think they're sort of doubling down on that. I will say, as Andy Staples pointed out on Twitter, the guy from the Sports Business Journal, John Alrand, basically said this was probably going to happen like a year ago. It hadn't happened yet at the time, but he was basically putting the pieces together from what he was hearing. And surprisingly, the CBS deal was not as lucrative as you may think it should have been for the SEC, which is why Disney/ESPN/ABC have been like, we can throw more money at this. Now, Andy Staples also saying the current CBS package runs through 2023. And at this time, CBS intends to actually finish out the deal. But he also says that could change for the right price. So you could even see ABC, Disney, ESPN, basically, I guess, buy them out of that contract would be the way to say it. So,
and didn't the Sports Business Journal, what Arand reported in like January, right? Like you said, almost a year ago, CBS, is this the figure you're referencing, Wes? $55 million for CBS, and ESPN could give in the low 300 range.
Yeah, I didn't remember the numbers. I just remember reading it and thinking.
Yeah, well, it's crazy, man. And, the SEC schools got, you're talking about South Carolina and all the other schools from bowl and TV money payouts. Big, what was it? 46 million, I think, 44 to $46 million was their last distribution. So this could up that even more. So good news for the member schools of the SEC.
Yeah, and as Will McLean points out on YouTube, and I saw this on Twitter, and I didn't even put two and two together. Disney is having their big Investors Day today, where they update their investors on future plans and stuff for the business. So all that makes sense. But man, talk about a potential well-timed. I know obviously it sounds like this won't go into effect for a few years, but with all the losses this year due to COVID, talk about a well-timed deal to maybe help out in the future and get things back to where you can sort of recoup some of those losses down the road. So
no doubt, man. I mean, that's what it's going to be all about. People are going to be looking for ways to get, to save costs, which we've seen a lot of those be put into place, and then how to generate more revenue, right? And so this is certainly a little bit more longer term, like you said, when some contracts shake out, but definitely schools can look at this and start banking more dollars, from a deal like this.
That is the name of the game. All right, y'all. I think that's going to do it for today. Appreciate the attention to the show as always. Appreciate y'all watching. Appreciate Darian Stewart for joining us. I mean, we've had some guests on, man. It's not very often that like NFL players just reach out and are like, "Can we be on the show?" So that was pretty cool. Appreciate Darian. He had some good stuff, some good stories, some Spurrier. I guess Spurrier got on him one time good. So if you didn't get to see that earlier or listen to it, go back and listen to the beginning. Chris, if everybody wants to come join us, hopefully they're already a subscriber anyway, but if they're not, they can use this code GCPOD, 30-day free trial to Gamecock Central, or just go ahead and get in. Use code Gamecocks. You get 50% off of your first year. And, dude, I got a feeling the information is just going to keep on coming.
Yeah, I was just about to say, man, it has been busy. Lots of notes being dropped on the board. We haven't even gotten to reference some of them on the show today or even this week. So always stuff going on. If you got questions, ask Chris on there every day. Wes, answer your questions if you want on the board. Carolina Confidential, Insider Report, dropping notes left and right. Got all sorts of stuff going on. So it's a great time to join if you have not yet.
Yeah, the Carolina Confidential I put out today might be the longest one of the entire year. And it just kept growing and growing and growing. And the funny thing is, stuff got left out, which will probably be put in there tomorrow, possibly. So come check us out, GamecockCentral.com. We appreciate it, y'all. We appreciate you putting your time into us. And we will see you tomorrow. For Chris, I'm Wes. We'll see you then.